Good afternoon, Grid Nation. Welcome to the Gridlocked Pod. I'm Cassie Martinez, and I got two very special guests from the Las Vegas Venom. I have Alec Smith and Danny B. What's up, guys?
Hello.
How are
Hello,
you?
how are you?
Awesome, thanks. How are you
Good.
guys? Where are you in the world? Tell the people.
I'm
Danny,
in
you first.
Virginia. Woo!
Woo!
I am currently at a lake house in Minnesota, so you can kind of see
Ooh.
it through there, but
A
maybe
true
not.
cabin. Lake house, log
Fancy.
Yeah,
cabin feel.
Is the
literally.
water cold in Minnesota?
It's actually not. The air is colder than the water is. I thought the water was going to be cold, but no, we were swimming last night and the water's warm, and then getting out is just like freezing, but it's been good.
Contrast. It's contrast
Yeah.
section.
Love that for you. Um, So you guys on the Las Vegas Venom, we had a lot of fun this season, a lot of struggles this season. How did you feel about, grid for your first season in general, Danny?
Oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun. Grid is unlike any other sport out there. And it definitely was a nice transition coming out of like the CrossFit space and being able to cherry pick all of my favorite movements going into grid season. So it was really cool, not only to be able to just do the things that I love to do, but also to be surrounded by such great athletes that are also rocking out their superpowers. I mean, there are some unreal athletes on that floor. So it's definitely worth watching.
That's awesome. And Alec, this is your second season with the UGL. You were previously in the NPGL, but what was your
Mhm.
experience like this season versus last season?
Yeah, so last season I just got to jump into the final race. It was like the back-to-back one, so I got to play in two matches. So this was like my first full season, and it was fun. It was always like having something to look forward to each month. You know, training for something, having something to look forward to. The team was awesome. The grid is my favorite sport, and like Danny said, it's nice being able to just jump in and do what you're good at, what you like, go really fast, and then get off the court. It's always been my favorite sport. Even back in the day, back in 2014, 15, I enjoyed doing grid more than I did anything else. CrossFit, High Rocks, whatever it is, like grid is just so much more fun, and being on a team and being supported by people around you, it's the best.
That's awesome. I love that.
Mm.
So let's go ahead and rewind it, right? I watched Danny's podcast yesterday on Jason's plate stack chat. It was so much fun. I learned so much about you that I didn't know. You're such a interesting person that lives so many lives, and I just you're just so cool. But
Thanks.
Danny touched on it a bit, but I want to hear, I guess, from Alex's perspective. How did you guys meet? How did you guys become friends?
I
Take
still
it
need to go
away,
and listen.
sunshine.
Yeah, I, I still need to go and listen to that podcast. I was super busy yesterday, but I'm going to listen to it today. Um, so I moved to New York back in 2019. Right after like coming out to my family and friends, I just like needed a new space, new environment. Needed to be surrounded by like-minded people, and so I just packed my bags literally and like moved a day later, and it was like very last minute. Um, Kind of was in talks with this CrossFit gym to come and train at the gym. I had reached out to a few gyms in the city, and this was the one that was a good fit. It was close to my apartment, and went in to train and saw this girl sleeping on the couch at like 2 o'clock in the middle of the day. And I was like, like, what's going
Is
on?
she
Like, is she?
okay?
Yeah, and turns out she'd been napping because she was coaching like four classes that morning and four classes in the afternoon, and was just sleeping in the gym. And we met that day, and then trained together, and have been best friends ever since. Just like connected really well. And the first weekend I was there, we went and like walked the Brooklyn Bridge. She took me
Got
around the
lost
city
in
and just kind of like,
Chinatown on our way there.
yeah, we got lost. We've gotten lost a lot of times in New York City, but that's like the best part of the city, is getting lost and then finding yourself. But yeah, it was awesome. We've been best friends ever since. I definitely do miss living in the city, but we got two big dogs and it's really expensive, so it's hard to be there, but miss it.
Yeah, I harped on that quite a bit yesterday. I was like, $7,000 for a 400 square foot apartment, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Please. But yeah, we were really lucky. That to me was like just divine intervention of him walking into the gym one day and me being like, yay, we're friends. And you know what they say, if you really want to get to know someone, get lost with them and see how they navigate problem solving. And Alec's patience for me right off the bat was just unbelievably apparent. He's like, well, we're just on an adventure now.
Yeah, why not?
So true. Alec is so go with the flow. Every
Gotta
time
be.
that I've ever seen him interact with anybody, he's just like, yeah, I guess that's, just the way it is. Okay.
It's true.
And just like makes it so much fun though.
Always. You got to have those
Yeah.
kinds of people around you. They're always supporting your antics and then making the antics fun in the process.
That's awesome.
Life's too short.
It is. Did you guys train together in New York?
Yeah,
that is by far the fittest I ever was.
That was so that was 2019. That was the year that I went to the games on a team. Previously it was individual, and then this year was on a team. They had like just started sanctionals, which was like new for CrossFit. So they were kind of trying to branch out. They were bringing like one person from each country to the games, having all these events around the world, calling them sanctionals, so you could like qualify from different events around the world. So it was kind of like, I feel like that was the biggest year for CrossFit, like trying to like be more diverse and spread out into different countries. And then of course COVID happened, and then everyone knows what happened with CrossFit after that. Just like did not really bounce back. But that was like the biggest year for me personally. I was like training 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. I was really in it. Our team went to the games and got second that year. And so, yes, we were training together almost every day. If it wasn't with Dani in the morning or in the afternoon, it was with someone else at the gym in the morning, the afternoon. We would always get lunch together in between training sessions. So we were just kind of always together and always training. And
we really had
definitely miss it.
We really had one of the more unique setups, I think, because it wasn't just Alec and I and Cody. We had a couple other girls as well that are, fierce competitors. One of them still competing in CrossFit to this day. And we all kind of lived on the same schedule of we were up at 5 coaching that morning block. And we all kind of had a break in the middle of the day when the gym was a little quieter. So we would all train together, which it ended up being a lot more fun that way. I think we were doing a lot of team workouts. We were breaking stuff up. You end up lifting a lot more when you have people that are cheering for you the whole time. Mm-hmm. So it definitely, I think, was like the fittest stint I've ever had. And that was like 7 days a week. We were pretty much doing active stuff. And when you're living in New York City, you also have to add on top of it, like your walking time frame. So on top of training 6 hours a day, he lived way uptown. I lived way uptown. To get downtown to where we were training, like you're walking half a mile to the train, hopping on it, et cetera. So you're averaging probably between 15 and 20,000 steps a day on top of your already active training bit. So it's really easy to stay active if you were around other people that were really active, but I can see how that culture could kind of go into a different way if you ended up in a different social circle pretty easy. So we were really lucky. I think 2018, 2019, that whole training season going into the pandemic was just like fitness on fitness on fitness with some peanut butter smoothies to top it out.
That's awesome. So you guys just kind of kept in touch and just kept your friendship strong, even though you didn't necessarily live in the same city afterward, right? Because Alec, you ended up moving back to Virginia.
Well, the pandemic changed everything, I think, for everybody. I think because when the pandemic hit, him and Cody both kind of left the city. I think Cody was stranded in a different country. And Alec and I we had flown back early from the Australian Championship down under. So that week leading up to the world shutting down, we were actively in another country and he was competing at a CrossFit competition. I think it was one of the sanctionals. And when the world kind of shut down, he went to one city. I stayed in New York. And I think, everyone kind of stayed in touch with who they had on their phones because that was really the only communication you could have with the outside world. And then as time kind of moved on and I was like, I cannot stay in this 400 square foot apartment anymore. One of the first places that I left and ran away to was Alec's house, which has seemed to be a repetitive theme over the course of my life. Every 2 years, I'm like, hey, I got to come back. And he's like, come back. I got you. So yeah, we've been really lucky to be able to keep our friendship as close as it has been for the last few years. But as good and bad as the pandemic could have been, it definitely like allowed for people at distance to be a lot closer to each other, just given the circumstances that everyone was living in.
That's awesome. Alec, I don't think you've ever done a grid specific podcast yet, have you?
No, not a grid specific one. I did a ton of CrossFit ones back in the day, but no, it's been a while.
Cool. So why don't
Mhm.
we tell the audience a little bit about how you came to grid and then how you brought Dani into grid? I mean, you could talk about like your experience playing NPGL if you want, and then just kind of like set the scene for us.
I think you should, because I think most people don't even realize how long the sport has actually been around. Like it has been around
Mhm.
since pre-peak of CrossFit. It's just changed shape a few times. So you should definitely touch on the NPGL.
Yeah, so back in, I'm pretty sure it was 20. Do you know, Cass, if it was 2014 or 15 when it started?
I think 14. I'm not.
Okay,
That
that's
sounds
what I
about
thought.
right.
So yeah, back in 2014, this guy that used to work with CrossFit or for CrossFit created the NP. Well, back in the day, it was called NPFL, the National Pro Fitness League, and then rebranded to the National Pro Grid League. But they pulled a lot of big name CrossFitters the first year. So back in 2014, it was like myself, my brother, Matt Frazier was in it. Katrin Davis' daughter was in it. Brooke Wells, like all of these big name CrossFit athletes were pulled into it right away in 2014. And so I went to like the very first ever combine. I think it was in DC. You went out to these combines, did skills, did tests. All the team coaches were watching to have you sign on to teams. I think they had signed a lot of big named athletes already to specific teams. And then from the combines, they kind of pulled athletes that they wanted onto the teams. So went and tried out in DC and then got signed to the DC Brawlers, which Justin Kotler was the coach of back in the day. Taylor Stallings was on the original team the very first year. So she was my teammate that first year. And I had so much fun. It was probably the most fun I ever had. I did end up injuring myself very early on in the season, so I didn't get to play the last few matches that year. But was a part of it back in 2014. And then in 2015, they kind of rebranded. They spent a lot of money out the gates in 2014. So they were trying to pull back in 2015, lost a lot of big name athletes, but the sport kept going. I ended up signing to the Baltimore Anthem that year. So a different team. Played with Dmitry Klokov. They brought him on as like Olympic weightlifter. I think everyone knows who Dmitry Klokov is if they follow CrossFit, follow Olympic weightlifting. He was on my team that year. Amazing lifter. Just, grid is not for everyone. He is the strongest man out there, but did not move very fast. So it was an interesting year with him. I had a great time, great teammates, and then just decided to sign with a different team in 2016. So it happened for 3 years. So they had 3 years of the league. Back in 2016, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, they definitely like pulled back on funding. All of the teams moved out to Utah for, I think it was like 2, maybe 3 weeks. And so all the teams lived together in Provo, Utah, the most random city in America.
Very Mormon.
Yes, very Mormon. So we all were like sharing hotel rooms, living with your teammates. They needed to do some type of like reality TV show back then because there was so much drama, team to team, just people, getting into arguments.
People being
fights,
dramatic?
and
No way.
I wish there were cameras back then because oh my gosh, it was fun. It was really, I had fun because I'm not part of that. I kind of like to sit back and listen and watch more than I like to partake in it. So it was an interesting year. But again, it was so much fun. I was on the Boston Iron, so
Oh, he froze.
No, Alec, you're frozen.
No, freeze frame.
Okay, you're back.
you get
Yep.
yeah. All right. So there are a few athletes that are still playing grid to this day, but not that many. So this was back in 2016, and then it ended.
Wait,
and
the
then
Boston Iron, was that with Jamie?
Yes. Yeah. Jamie was on that team. Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we ended.
Cool.
Yeah. We that was in 2016. So I was on Taylor's team in 2014, then Jamie's team in 2016. But yeah, so I was part of it for 3 years, and then ended up not happening again the next year. But Ruby and Mather started the Florida Grid League, and so that's been is this the 8th year or the 7th year?
I think it's the 8th.
I think the 8th year. So yeah, they just started smaller and then, built it up the way it should have been from the start. I think if they would have done this back in 2014, the sport would be huge right now, not put millions of dollars into it. The first match ever was at Madison Square Gardens back in 2014. So I think they just spent, way too much money right out
Went
the
out
gate
hot.
and did not get a return. Yeah. That doesn't always go well. So it did not go well for them. But yeah, so this time last year when I jumped on to the Venom's team for the last match, I was actually reached out to by a player from the Sharks, Sammy. So she messaged me. She was like, "Hey, I think the Venom are looking for like a bodyweight guy or like a specialist." And so I had seen like clips of the Florida Grid League, but I honestly didn't know that it was like a professional organization. And so I kind of like looked into it and I was like, I don't know why I haven't been doing this for like the last couple of years. Like I loved the sport. I always loved doing it. And so reached out to Paul and we chatted and then flew out to Vegas and played with them. And then I just did my first full year with them. But yeah, definitely missed it. Such a fun sport, like I've said. And I'm so glad that Ruby and Mather continued the legacy of the sport.
That's awesome. So did you just see like Florida Grid League on like Instagram and that's as much as you knew? Like, oh, it's just clips on Instagram kind of thing?
Yeah, so I had followed a couple people that had like posted clips of doing grid, and I thought it was like someone's gym that just had like a rig and was just doing like grid races for fun. I just didn't really look into it. I'm not long story short, I try not to get on social media as much anymore. So the past couple of years, I've just kind of tried to stay off it. I was on it a lot back in the day just because, I wanted to build my brand up. I wanted to be able to get sponsorships and everything. Kind of got burnt out from it. So was not really paying attention the last like 3-4 years to much. And so, didn't know it was like a sport until Sammy reached out and I looked further into it. And I was like, there's teams. I think they had just rebranded to the United Grid League instead of the Florida Grid League.
Yeah.
Took on a team from Atlanta and now Texas and Vegas now. So definitely getting bigger, but they definitely did the right thing by starting out small and then like growing slowly.
That's awesome. So then you're part of Grid for the doubleheader last season in Vegas. You have fun. You brought some of your friends. It was a blast. And then you were just thinking, there's one friend that's missing that's going to make this team complete in the off season. What was your thought when you brought on Dani onto the team?
Well, we needed a female bodyweight specialist. We did not have one. We didn't have anyone on the team that could flip and twist and pull over like Dani could. And she was living with me around the time that the season was kind of like starting up. And I was like, why don't you just jump on the team with us? We can travel and
just have some fun.
Yeah. Not him frozen again.
The one thing about Minnesota to note is the Wi-Fi.
Okay, you're back.
I don't know where it cut me off, but I was like, we've never competed together, and I just felt like it was the perfect opportunity to. And she's so good at the bodyweight and gymnastics stuff that I was like, it'll be the perfect fit.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It was fun. It was definitely fun. And I think like that kind of flowed really effortlessly into when we met Cass, because that was like happening right around Wadapalooza. So he was like, I'm going to meet the coach or the owner of Venom here and blah, blah, blah. And then you guys kind of came into the picture and I was like, I love these people. I absolutely have to do this. This is going to be so much fun.
It was so fun meeting you. Wadapalooza that whole weekend was just a blast. And like everybody's talking about
DJ.
It was so embarrassing because like it's never that cold. And then the one time that like all my friends from everywhere else come, it's like, oh, like it's so cold here. It's like, this is regular. I mean, you come here a lot to Florida and you lived in Florida before too.
I have. I will say though, it came kind of at the perfect time because I feel like most things, like this was the first year that Wadapalooza was at a different venue. And granted, like it's only a mile or two away. But it just felt very different. It felt very different being on the floor with a lot of old faces and new faces. And sometimes it's like when you look back at the time frame you've spent in certain activities, it's like you can tell when the chapter of one thing is closed and you need to turn the page on it. And it was so like nostalgic to be at Wadapalooza, but it was very different. And so like in that moment, it was like, okay, what is the next thing that you're going to do? What's the next thing you're going to focus on? And grid is something that I've hovered around since about like 2015, 2016. So I've known that it existed. I've had friends that went down and they were part of the Florida Grid League when it was Florida Grid League. And so when he brought it up and he was like, we've never competed together, like, let's just go have fun. I was like, you're right. It's time to switch it up, focus on something, you know, that's going to be motivating, is going to be a lot of fun. And like Alex said earlier, it was so awesome to have something to look forward to every single month. And knowing that like you were going to meet up with just like the biggest group of goofballs, and we would have some fun working out. So I'm glad that like that kind of flow of transition happened the way that it did.
That's awesome. What was stopping you from playing grid at the time that, other people, I mean, I guess you didn't necessarily know Alec at the time of like NPGO, but you said that you had friends that played NPGO. So what was the barrier to playing, or the hesitation, if there were any?
Not to drag on myself as an athlete, but as you can kind of see, like over the course of the season of grid this year, I feel like there's two types of athletes. There's an athlete that can go out on the floor, and the second that they get attention, it just like puts them into overdrive. Like you see just the absolute show of the century. At the same time, that stepping onto a comp floor can be kind of debilitating for some athletes. And for me, my skill set goes out the window the second that I start to get nervous, which is kind of funny for someone who's built their Instagram following off of doing handstands in reckless places. But I definitely, even back then, I know what my strengths are and I'm very confident in what those skills are. But the things that I'm shaky on can be pretty detrimental to a race or a workout. And so even back then, like, I think the imposter syndrome kind of kicked in. I had tried out there was a Chicago team. I don't remember what the dealio with that was, but I had gone to that tryout and was pretty much like only doing the handstand stuff. And when it kind of came about of like, you could go in this direction or you could focus on filling your holes and trying to be a regional athlete, I kind of went more of like the CrossFit regional space. That could have just been from being in my early 20s and having a lot of people in my ear of like, this is the cool thing to do. This is what you need to focus on. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I am glad that it came back around. It was something that like I had always kind of paid attention to. So when it landed back in my lap this time, I was like, all right, it doesn't really matter how you feel about your own skill set. Just go out there, go have fun, go do your thing with your best friend. So I will say that the nervousness definitely showed over the course of the season. There were skills that I could do with my eyes closed right now that I messed up as soon as there was a judge right 2 feet in front of me. But it was really awesome to be able to have teammates like Alec where like when shit hit the fan, I was just like, hello, help.
Hey, well, nobody else on the team could do it. So without you, we wouldn't even have gotten through those races. So
I was about to
you did
say,
amazing.
yeah, there's definitely something to be said about being like the one that finishes something for a team, like there's nobody else that could have done that. And the fact that you were able to fill those holes, like it was super necessary. And people don't realize how intense grid is until you get on the grid floor, and you can mess up like, oh, like I could count to 10 with my eyes closed, and then you get on the grid and it's like 100, 457, like you just like get confused.
One of the
So
funniest things to me truly is like, I'm hard of hearing, so this doesn't set me up for success anyway. But like when you're upside down, like I think this is the Tampa match, and you're like someone's yelling fault at you while you're upside down in the middle of a movement. I'm like, well, what's going on? And then there's other people that are like trying to yell at the same time, like your hands on the tape. I'm like, there's too many rules. So it definitely was a interesting change of stimulus when I had, voices that are screaming in your head and you're like, listen, I can't turn my neck right now. I'm at bottom of a handstand push-up.
like I just twisted my spine in ways that my spine is not supposed to be twisted.
Like, that was all right. Let's see you do it, brother. Let's go.
Did you like know about like the language of grid? Like you knew what fault meant though, at least, right?
Yes, but I have a really hard time using it in my own like vernacular. So whenever I'm talking, like I'll switch back to CrossFit verbiage pretty easily, and then I'm like, okay, no, that's not the word here.
Alec, so at the time of like NPGO, you were also doing CrossFit. Can you relate to what Dani was saying a little bit, or did you have a different experience of like playing grid and having like a specialty to play on this, but also be trying to be the best and the fittest in the world and doing all of those things?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, when you're training at a CrossFit box, you have everyone there is obsessed with CrossFit, especially back in 2014, 15, 16. It was like, I don't want to use the word culty, but I mean, there's so
I was
many
about to
different
say it's a
things you can
cult.
use.
We drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And everyone, like, is like 100% into it. Like myself included, I was training 6 hours a day, everything about, I dropped out of college to compete in CrossFit. I gave everything I had to the sport. And everyone that you're surrounding yourself with kind of did the same. They're focusing all their time and effort into CrossFit. So, yeah, when it was a little bit different for me, I feel like when I heard of grid and started doing grid, because I came from like a high school gymnastics background, which like zero male athletes do. I feel like a lot of female athletes in CrossFit have that gymnastics background, but really not that many male athletes do. So when I saw that they were doing, backwards roll supports and all these high skilled gymnastics movements and grid, I like wanted to do it so bad. I could run on my hands since the time I was like 4 years old. I spent more time on my hands and my feet when I was a kid. I would cartwheel down grocery store aisles. So like I was always meant to do some type of gymnastic stuff. And so like when I saw grid and I saw how fast paced it was, I ran sprints in high school too. So I love like, the fast paced, high skilled stuff. And so I saw the sport and I knew immediately that I wanted to do it. Didn't mean I didn't want to continue CrossFit because, training for grid still helps with CrossFit training. It's just faster and not as long on the court, but there are still CrossFit events that are short and like fast burst as well. So kind of trained for both at the time. That was 2014, 15, 16. I didn't qualify for my first CrossFit Games until 2017. So I wasn't competing at the CrossFit Games around this time. So grid was kind of like my main focus until it fizzled out. And then, qualified for the games the first year that grid kind of fizzled out, and then just have been with CrossFit ever since.
I think that he brings up a good point too, of just like in the realm of gymnastics, and I know this is true for cheer as well. Like where do you go after you hit the elite level? Like you hit this elite level at like 16 to 18 years old. If you're lucky enough to go do it in college, like you're capping out at like 22. So originally it was like CrossFit was kind of the first funnel that showed itself of like, where do you go if you were a gymnast? Like what kind of activities could you funnel into after? So it was like a natural progression to go from gymnastics to CrossFit. And then from there, when you get familiar with CrossFit enough, you're like, okay, now there's another elite pad you can jump to with grid. So it was like CrossFit gave you a wonderful base in general of functional fitness. And then grid just kind of takes everything that we were doing in that functional fitness space and like just dousing it with lots of decorations and sparkles. Because I think grid is so awesome to watch. And it definitely has like more spectator quality to it than CrossFit ever did. So it does kind of give you this like kind of goal. It gives you like a goal or a career path in the realm of fitness when you're coming out of like these sports that kind of cap out in your youth. And then you're like, well, no, I can keep going. I can kind of still keep finding these things to compete in and these other people who are in similar places.
When you heard about grid and Alec approached you to like kind of join the team, were you excited like for the specialty aspect? Because you mentioned that you were a CrossFit regionals athlete. So did you feel like this was your opportunity to do like all of the things that you're really good at?
I definitely loved the cherry picking component of this because like I am a skill set athlete. Like if I know that I can do a skill, I will do it really well. And grid just kind of aligns with me a little bit more than like the wholeness that you needed as far as a tool belt with CrossFit. So when he asked me to do grid, it seemed more appealing and welcoming to me at that time. I was coming off of like a 2-year work stint where I quite literally did not take a day off. Like I've got videos up on my Instagram working Easter for whoever was coming to a gym on Easter. And I kind of let my athleticism take a back seat just so that I could continue to be present in my job. And I had run into just quite literally losing everything in January. So where I was sitting when Alec first approached me with the option was like, you're kind of at this base and you can go up from here. And that kind of seemed more reasonable to me to then go into it training things that I enjoy training and skills that I know that I had. But I was definitely nervous going into this season because I had let my athletic training take a back seat for so long that I knew it was going to take a lot of work to get myself back into that competitive place. And over the course of the season, I was teaching myself more new skills than I think I've spent any other part of my athletic career doing. Like, I successfully avoided aerials throughout my entire gymnastics career simply because I was not good at them. And when that came up in grid, it was like, well, there's no one else on the team that can do it. And so having to like go back and like reteach myself how to do these skills that I avoided for so long was definitely that part where I was like, what have I done? What have I signed myself up for? But I'm glad that I did it. So I think if you would have asked me to do a CrossFit competition, I would have been like, are we doing scaled? Like, absolutely not. But this to me was like, these are things you love to do. So here's some motivation. You've got some time frame to train for it. And why the hell not? So I'm glad that it was a great offer.
That's awesome. That sounds like something that, came to you at a good time. And I feel like what you added to the team was like very necessary. Like that, bit of personality that the Venom were lacking too.
I did win. Me and Eddie, we won personality superlatives. We were the official personality hires of the
I didn't know
Las
you did
Vegas Venom.
superlatives.
Yeah, we did. Alec was our body weight specialist. I think Dakota was our male strength specialist. McKenna was our female. Rookie of the year was Whitney. Me and Eddie were personality hires. And I don't know if I'm missing anything. And if I am, I'm sorry.
I kind of love that. Not necessarily that you were a personality hire, but like I would definitely hire you for your personality as well. You know what I mean?
Thank
Like,
you.
like
I take personality hire as a
That's so
compliment.
true.
It was so, I mean, it was such a great group of people. They were really easy. It was easy to make it a fun season. You crack one joke and that joke just kind of spirals in a game of telephone. Like if you're around one person who's laughing and two people start laughing, then 10 people are going to start laughing very soon.
Totally. Let's look at this comment real quick. I thought I was the best at recruiting on the league, but Alec might have me beat. I mean, it's
true.
Pico's athlete. Don't forget that recruited Alec to the Venom. So
we talk about the good recruits on our team all the time. Like Dakota was such a great recruit. Like he brought on so many great people. Alec brought on so many good people. I mean, hey, in our space, it goes a long way when you have people that are vouching for you. And especially if you've got people vouching for you on other teams. It's just like, yeah, that person, we want them on the floor. They're a fun competitor.
Yeah. I mean, you watch any sport and I think the personality and just like what makes a team watchable like comes a lot from very specific athletes. And I feel like you guys definitely have that. Like you guys are kind of like the core of the Venom and like it's kind of grown around you guys and become a bigger core, which is really cool to see. Just because the Venom didn't have a lot at all
we started the season without a full roster. So I also just think it was our team probably had one of the cooler stories to follow throughout the season. Because we started those first two matches like completely down and out. I mean, we had teammates that were signed to our roster that didn't show up. We had people that were just dropping left and right. We had toes broken. We had all sorts of just craziness going on. And by the time we got to the last doubleheader, the last matches, like that's when we were able to show up as a team. Yeah. And that who are these people? That felt so good. It felt so great to go into that and like end the season on a win and just be able to go out there and showcase like what happens when you have a great community of people and what kind of underdogness you can pull off.
I love that. And on that note, Alec, going into this season after last season, a lot of things happened, right? What was your expectation going into the season with the Venom and how did it play out or how did it differ from the expectation that you had, I guess?
Yeah, like Danielle said, that last week where we actually had a full roster, that felt like the Venom, if that makes sense. Even though we had just met a lot of the teammates that weekend, we had a full squad, whereas the first week we were supposed to have a few people that didn't show up. And so that kind of threw us through a loop. And then I think we were all a little bit frustrated. So couldn't really literally the day before we had to change everything.
We had a guy fly out the day of.
Yeah, we recruited someone, literally like bought a ticket the day of the match, flew out, and then played for us. Shout out to Sam, he's the best.
Sam is the best.
So
Sam is the best.
literally. So yeah, that last week where we had a full roster, had like a whole team, that felt like, a Venom team. And I really think if we had that full team all year, I think we would be in the playoffs. And I think we would have a really good shot at winning. Especially if we had more time to practice together. We did like a few Zoom calls with the team later on in the season, and those helped a ton. So I think if we would have done that early on in the season, it would have helped a little bit as well. But expectations, I really didn't have many expectations after that first weekend, and we were kind of like scrambling to figure out what we were going to do for the second weekend. Figured it out, and then that third weekend, just like everything came together. So I kind of wish it would have came together a little bit sooner in the season so that we could be in the playoffs. Because I do think we have a really good shot at taking it next year with the squad that we have now.
The Zoom calls are so funny. I would show all my like corporate friends. I was like, and what did you do on your team's meeting today? And I would like show ours where it's got like the little cubes and like somebody's doing something crazy in the background. I'm like, yeah, this looks like your corporate job, right?
That's awesome. I know. I remember like I wasn't here for that. But I remember Paul telling me about like the logistics of the call. And I was like, I could barely like talk to two people at a time. Like that sounds crazy.
There was some crazy organization. But again, to Alec's point, like those are all things that we were doing leading into those last two matches. So if we would have, I don't know, if we just would have thought of the strategy earlier, like we probably would have been a top team without a doubt coming out of last weekend.
How do you guys feel about being like one of the more entertaining teams despite,
I live for this. I live for the story. I mean, winning is cool, but like, let's be honest. Like, the story is way more fun. The entertainment component of our team is more fun. Like, the videos that I enjoy the most, like the one of Dan and Matt Rattay that are doing, yes, like you just can't get over being on the floor with us and just seeing how much fun people were having on top of them putting on a good race. Like, we are the entertainment queens and kings.
I love that. What about you, Alec?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to have fun when you're doing anything. If you win something and you're miserable doing it, I don't think it's worth it. So it's super important to have fun, and everybody on the team just clicked very well. And yeah, I mean, it's great. Obviously you want to win, but if you're winning and not having fun, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh yeah. Nobody wants to be a miserable winner.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, some people do, but I don't.
No, I don't relate to that. You guys have walkout songs, right? For every match. It's been something different, something fun. If you had your own personal walkout song, what would it be?
Probably the Barbie girl song.
Wow, that's cute.
Hi, Barbie.
All right.
Hi, Ken.
I have like a favorite song since childhood. Do you know who Mika is? Grace Kelly. Yeah, you're probably too young. But after this call, look up Grace Kelly by Mika. It's a good song.
That's a really good feel-good song.
Okay.
It just always makes me happy. It makes me smile. So I would probably pick that one.
Okay. I'm writing it down right now.
I don't even remember what all of our walkout songs were because we did change it every time. And every time it was a conversation. And none of us were ever on the same page, but we definitely were always gearing towards like something goofy. I mean, by the time we got to the last match, we're walking out in purple cowboy hats and bandanas and glasses. Like, it was not meant to be a serious walkout situation at all.
That was definitely the best one, I have to say. Like that one was like the most obvious job at like the other team. Like,
that's all credit to Paul. That is all credit to Paul.
For sure. What is firstly, obviously, hopefully you guys come back to the Venom or to Grid in general, no matter in like what, way. But if you stayed with the Venom, what do you think is something that you guys are looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to just running it back. I mean, now that we kind of know the impact that some of these strategies can have, I think if we went into next season with having more time actually together, then next season you'll see even better athletes than you saw at our last match. Um, me and Alec talk about this quite a bit, but there's some things that like we see within grid itself, just like the structure of the sport, that we would love to see continue to innovate and develop, because it is such a special sport and it has so much potential to be one of the biggest sports. And I think that like if we just continue to like fine tweak a couple things, that you go into this season and it's like it's just going to blow up the same way that CrossFit blew up, the same way High Rocks is blowing up. I think people will buy into it. And I'm really looking forward to just seeing what Ruby and Mathers do with, continuing to kind of change some of the movements, changing some of the judging standards and like all of that other stuff. But it's definitely a really fun sport to watch. So to be a part of it in any capacity is just such a blessing and a gift, truly. So I'm hoping that the majority of our team comes back together again next season, because that would be like the comeback story of the greats.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm just super jealous of the people that get to play in the playoffs, because like it was fun having something to train for and look forward to. So just like having something to look forward to again next year. I hope there's higher skilled, more reps of higher skilled stuff, but that's just me. I like that stuff and I can do that stuff all day. So throw higher skills at us. I would love
Alex,
that.
like, I want to see giants on the bar.
Yeah.
Giants on the rings. Let's go.
As long as it's not squatting, I'm down.
Yeah, we've got other people for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love that. Speaking of next, what's next for you guys as far as like life or fitness, or now that the season's over, besides hopefully next season that you guys return to the Venom to create the, super team that you guys are dreaming of and to put it all together and run it back. What's next for you guys?
Great question. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I will say that in the next, however long we have for the off season, what's next is like getting back to training, just finding things to continue to stay motivated, to move around and develop skills. I'm really looking forward to the projects that come up. So I had mentioned yesterday on my other podcast that I got dubbed this nickname Fairy Godmother. And it's because people will come to me with any kind of request. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. It could be anything from them wanting to learn a skill, through wanting to launch a business, through hosting some kind of party event, fashion show, whatever. And I just end up being a point of contact for like, hey, I need some help. Are you down? So those things tend to come up in far and few between opportunities. Like there potentially could be a Speedo line coming on the way, and all sorts of fun things that we just get ourselves into from kind of just like waking up on a random Tuesday and being like, hey, this would be a really good idea. Let's do it. Let's see if it works. So that's kind of the beauty of the position that we get to be in, both in like the fitness space, being athletes or being trainers, is you don't really know where the wind is going to take you. You don't really know what opportunities are going to present itself. And your job is really just to stay ready for whatever possibly could come up. And that's kind of the most fun thing. And part of something I value so much about my relationship with Alec is how we both can kind of just suggest something and we both are willing to like hop on the boat and just kind of see it through. So it leaves a lot of room for planning. We're not so good at planning some of these strategies super far out. But you'll definitely see some cool stuff coming out of my brand and my business as well as his over the next few months.
Yeah, the only like fitness related thing I have right now is I'm doing a High Rocks in September, like a doubles one with Cody. Yeah. Other than that, I'm just working out like once a day for like an hour a day, and it's great. I'm really enjoying it. My body's feeling better and better. Had to take time off of CrossFit, probably full time off of CrossFit, just because my hips have been really bothering me for the past like 5 years. More so the last like 2 years, I could not squat more than 135 without excruciating pain. So kind of just like taking care of that and just being healthy and happy and being able to move pain free. So High Rocks in September with one of my good friends, Cody. So that's something on the books. And then you guys know this, but my partner Riley is competing in a Mr. Global competition. So that'll be in Thailand first week of October. So kind of like I'm not doing anything except going to Thailand and watching him, but that's kind of like a big thing in the household that we're looking forward to. And then non-fitness related, I think we're going to get like a little fixer-upper home and just work on that for the next year or two and then flip it and sell it. I love doing like interior design and all of that stuff. So those are kind of like the things that are going on in my life right now.
You guys are so much fun. Danny's like, yeah, just whatever business like comes into my head or people approach me with. And Alex like, yeah, I'm going to buy a house. And, you know, my boyfriend's competing in Thailand to be the president of the world. You guys are so cool.
Any person who doesn't want to live a 9-to-5 lifestyle and you're afraid to like jump ship, by all means, let this be your sign that it always works itself out when you're, you know, not stuck in corporate. You'll still find a way, and things, you know, will present themselves in really unique ways sometimes. So it's been fun. It's a fun life. That's for sure. It's not boring. It's not boring.
Hell yeah. That sounds so much fun. Let me take it back to something that you said earlier. You said things that grid can do to become like the big sport. In your guys' opinion, if we're just spitballing and we're fairy godmothering over here and we can make it happen, like what is the thing that you guys would want to see in the grid that you perceive could benefit the sport?
Well, like he said earlier, definitely bring back some more high reps of high skill movements. But I would say, just from like an observational standpoint, coming into it as a rookie, like there are a lot of rules and there are like rules on rules, and it just kind of can get lost in translation. And sometimes, like from what I experienced from coaching CrossFit for a decade at this point, is that sometimes like overcomplicating things makes them really complicated, and simplifying things makes it more targeted to what your goal is. So I think like right off the bat, like just some of the fault rules, or like just the rules of the floor, like would love to see the judges kind of go through some standardization so that everyone's on the same page of like what's a fault and what's not a fault. And just making that a little bit more simplified for the people watching it. Because like a great example is like that day that we ran the match 3 times. If you're just, you know, my mom at home who's watching that on YouTube, you're not really understanding why people are throwing so many flags, or like why a referee is throwing a flag, and like some of the coaches are throwing flags, and everyone's throwing flags at each other. And I think that like the coaches and the owners, like for the most part, get what's going on. Your veteran athletes kind of get what's going on. But for the most part, like you could take some of that fluff out and you could still get the same high level competition. You can still get that same level of competitiveness, just making it like seem a little bit more like clear cut. And like a great example, like we talked about quite a bit, like the referee flag, like still doesn't totally make sense to me. Just the challenge flags in general, like maybe let's just cut some of the fluff and like simplify that entire process.
Interesting.
But I had so much fun, I swear.
No. It's all in good fun. I always wonder, because I've done a lot of roles in grid, but I've never been a player. So I'm sure like there's a lot of things that like I understand that the regular person doesn't understand because of that. You know what I mean? So like the regular spectator that's never seen the sport. So I'm always like curious as to, you know, if there's something that I can improve on the live stream, or like if there's something more that people want in general.
Well,
I'll let Alec answer the question, but I'll also say, I know that you're going to say swivel rings.
Swivel rings equipment. Well, really quick to your point though about with you being on the YouTube live stream, and grid is so unique in the fact that it has the quadrants. So like from a visual standpoint, people can see what's going on. You can see as teams are kind of moving forward through the workout, the closer that they're getting to that end mat, like you can understand. If you don't understand any of the rules, what you can understand is that the team moving across the finish line first is the one that's in first place. So it's definitely like headed in the right direction. It's just more of that, like when you're out there and you're on the floor and you got so many people that are challenging so many of these fast reps, it's like a two-fledged issue of like the judges need to be on the same page for what's a clear rep and what's a fault, at the same time that like we could probably then reduce the amount of flags that need to get thrown, simply because there's just a little bit more of that standardization in the movement.
Interesting. I like it.
I might get shit for this, but I think I've told Paul this multiple times. I think they need to get rid or just make better partner forward. It starts the race. It's like 3, 2, 1. This is just from personal experience when I like have people watching the matches or have like CrossFitters or friends watching the matches. It's like 3, 2, 1, go, and it's the lightest weights, the fastest movements, the most faults. So people just like start the match by watching people getting no repped. So and then it's the most confusing race I think for spectators as well, with like switching and then the female and the male having to stand in quadrants of the barbells, and you're moving, you don't know how many reps they're doing, everyone's getting faulted, you don't know why. I think that partner forward either needs to be simplified
Or moved.
or have movements that just like you can't get faulted as much by, if that makes sense. But I mean, I'll show people grid, and like grid's super cool. It obviously draws a lot of people in. Like the ringers are an amazing addition to the sport. I think they're great. Mirror race is amazing. The ladder's amazing. Jack and Jill's amazing. I think partner forward just like turns people off because they immediately just see faults right when the race starts. And that's, if you can't get drawn in by the first race or the first few seconds, like people aren't going to watch the whole match, especially if they don't know what's going on. I think it's the hardest race to explain, the hardest race to have good reps on, and nobody knows like the numbers because there's no numbers on the floor. So it's just confusing to start off with. So I'm not a big fan of partner forward. And I think that like 3, 2, 1, go, people need to be drawn in from the beginning instead of having like questions or not knowing what's going on or just seeing bad reps. I think a lot of people look when they think of grid or like see grid, or when they think about grid, they think about like, oh yeah, the sport with all the faults. And I think like a big reason why is because it starts with partner forward. Not saying to get rid of the race, like maybe moving it or switch movements or like start a grid race with like mirror. That would be cool. Or like start the grid race with a ringer, or I don't know, just a different event that's not as confusing and not as fast paced and not chaotic. Because like the players obviously know what's going on. I mean, not all the time. Even some players still run into.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I did not know.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot going on. So partner forward is just people that know me know that I don't like that race, and I don't like that it starts with that race. But that's just my opinion. And again, I'm not in charge of the sport or anything. But then also going by what Dani says, I think the referee flags are very confusing for spectators, and I understand the point behind them, but I don't think that they're necessary. Just like allow the teams to have challenge flags and throw them, but I think referee flags are a little confusing. Then they extend the races. Like our race went on for 2 hours. Another one of our races went on for a lot longer than it was supposed to because of those flags.
And like, just to clarify, is the referee flag thrown when a ref is calling a fault on another ref?
Yeah, it's something would have definitively affected the outcome of the race if the ref had done it correctly.
Yeah, so I think maybe
like tattletaling on your own. Like, don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a way to keep people accountable. I mean, it's frustrating from a spectator's perspective for sure, and from a player's perspective, I'm sure as well. But we're actually working on ways to make that more exciting in the future, and we're gonna play around with a few things that we can do with that in champs. For the spectators, it's still gonna kind of suck for the players, to be honest with you.
Well, that part's okay because we kind of know what we're signing up for. But I think like one of the biggest things in this is it's a struggle on behalf of every athlete. I know almost every athlete out there this season has felt the weight of this, of like, we still need more money coming into the sport. We're opening arms for more sponsorships and trying to like get the word of grid out there, that most of these brands that you speak to aren't other athletes. Like the people who own these companies are not grid players that are on the floor who understand. They are spectators. There's somebody who wants to see a ROI for their business. They want to be able to see like, what am I going to get back if I put my brand on your back? And so I'm very mindful of like that business decision moving forward of like, how do you prioritize like not only the athlete experience and the competition, but how do you also then prioritize the spectators so that we can continue to get more money into grid, so that we can continue to blow this up and, make it more of a priority and more attention in the fitness space like it deserves. And I think like at the end of the day, when you're turning around and having conversations with people who don't understand our sport completely yet, but they've got those checkbooks. We want to simplify that process of saying like, hey, if you slap your brand on my back, people are going to go out there, they're going to see me race and do a whole bunch of aerials, and they're going to think it's so cool, and then they're going to buy your product, from there. When, to his point, like with starting off with the partner forward, when most people like describe functional fitness, they do describe it as being chaotic. People are like, there's a lot going on. So when we start our races out like that, it is a little bit off-putting for that spectator. It's a little bit jolting where they're like, okay, what the hell are these people doing? And then as it goes on, you kind of figure it out. Whereas opposed to if you start with something that was a little bit more simplistic, like you have just 2 players going out there, or like the mirror suggestion, it starts off like a little bit more even keel, and then you can drive up the chaos as the event goes on, kind of like a really good action movie. Set the scene and then drive it up the wall and then get to your resolution. But we can probably do a little bit of a better job of like guiding the spectator through the race from start to finish, just from that, like matching the visual component to the explanation of what's happening.
Go off.
You and Taylor were amazing commentators. I have to give you guys your flowers on that. It was so much fun to listen to you. And I always really enjoyed, like, even when I fell on my head, like Cass never breaks from her voice. It stays calm, cool, and collected. And I'm like, listen, and nobody needs to panic. Like, Cass has got this. So I truly enjoyed listening to you this season. And I think you do a fantastic job at explaining what's going on. It just is a really chaotic sport.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I definitely have a lot of fun. I'm kind of like you were saying yesterday, like you would just like throw yourself and like hope for the best. I'm definitely that kind of person too. So I see that.
I've seen those handstands down the ramp.
Feel me, girl? I'm gonna just go for it. So I like you fell and like you got back up. I'm like, like she's cool. Like,
oh my gosh, that audio I made of you makes me laugh because you're like, for the sprint relay, you're like, oh, there she goes again. Like, she's got to get through these as fast as she can. And then Taylor's on the other side, like, maybe she needs to take her time. She landed on her head earlier. And I'm like, no, until Cass is worried, needs to be worried.
I know, she was so concerned for you. She's so sweet.
Oh,
I like Pico's comment here. He's like, I think all of this is great feedback. I've never heard what you guys said about the sprint relay. I mean, sorry, not the sprint relay, the partner forward. It's a really interesting perspective for sure. And I've never really thought of it like that. Not that I have, any kind of programming authority or anything, but obviously people are going to listen to this and they're going to think about it themselves, and they could comment down below what they think of that. But I think it's really an interesting perspective, especially from a spectator sport. It is the most CrossFit-esque race while also having like the most confusing rules. So I see how like someone would want to give this a try and be like, oh, this is like CrossFit light, and maybe not take it as seriously as like one would hope. So I thank you guys for saying that and being so honest with me in front of millions of people. I mean, the 3 people that are watching.
Millions of people.
But yeah, that's fun. And thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to support a diva on her journey.
Feel me? So let's end this off on something fun. If you guys could give yourselves or each other superlatives in life or on the grid or whatever first comes to mind, what would it be?
Most likely to be cast in a Marvel film as a superhero.
Yes, he totally would.
1000%.
For me, you're pointing at Cass, so Cass is going to be in the Marvel.
Put me in.
Both of you.
No, literally. Actually, you should get an agent, and
it's me. I'm going to be the agent. I'm going to start emailing all of the production houses.
That was actually I think we were going to create audition tapes for Survivor when I got back home, right? Are we going to do that?
Yeah, catch us on Survivor.
Yeah, some type of reality TV show. That'd be fun. After I leave the house, of course.
That'd be fun.
Oh my gosh. I just had one in my head, but it just popped out of my head. But most fun, most interesting, and most fun to be around.
Oh, thanks.
Sure. Yeah. My life would not be the same without her.
Always a
Yeah.
good time with the two of us. And now we're so glad to have Cass into our chaotic friendship circle.
Yay!
Mhm.
I know. I can't wait till you guys come back to Miami so we can all hang out.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Some fun stuff. We could do an escape room together this time. We didn't get to go together in
Oh, I forgot
Wadapalooza.
about that.
Those are
Imagine
so
us in an escape room.
Oh my God, imagine just the Venom team in an escape room.
Like focus. We gotta get
Clap,
out of
Alec,
here.
clap
Alec
too.
and Paul are gonna be Alec, Dakota, and Paul are gonna be in a corner, like taking it so seriously, and everybody else is gonna be like,
Me and
crapping
Eddie will have
around.
gotten ourselves locked out.
I love that. Thank you guys so much for coming on and making the time and having fun with me. It's so
Thanks
good to
so
see your
much for
smiling
hosting
faces.
us. This was fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you
Anytime
guys
at
want to
all.
say before we come off?
I don't think so.
Mercury's in
Thank you.
retrograde, so if everyone's
It is.
technology, like Alex was glitching out, like if your technology is acting up, you can blame the planets for everything for the next 3 weeks.
Yes. I love blaming other things for my problems.
Same. I hate accountability.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We'll see you. Well, I'll probably have you on the podcast again before the season, but we'll see you next season.
It'll be fun. Well, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you guys. See ya.